Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for being here. Well, it's time for another Tools and Tech Tuesday, and if you've been around the channel for a while, you know that I've reviewed this thing, and I like it. But Discernment Files recently left a comment with a good question, and they were wondering, can this run a CPAP? For those of you who don't know, a CPAP is a continuous positive airway pressure machine. It basically keeps your trachea inflated by continuously pumping air into your lungs as you're sleeping if you're a person that has sleep apnea. I have a Belkin electrical tester which will tell us how much wattage the CPAP machine is drawing so we know if it's going to be too much for this thing to handle. This can handle up to 150 watts. So the first thing we need to do is test how much wattage the CPAP machine actually takes.
Alright guys, here's how it works. You plug this thing into whatever you would normally plug into, in this case, a power strip. You take whatever you're testing and plug it into this, in this case, our CPAP. Alright, so you can see here that this thing has 3 buttons, and that's because there are 3 modes. It can show you carbon, it can show you dollar-wise how much you're using, and it can show you wattage, how much a device is consuming. And that's what we want right now. And right now, what this thing is doing is the CPAP will send data up to the cloud so you can view your data, how many times you woke up, things like that, throughout the night, and you can also share it with your doctor, of course. So let's see what happens when we turn the CPAP on without me actually having the mask on. You can see that the wattage keeps climbing up. As you can see, the wattage climbs up into the 70s, and it seems to be staying around here under 75. Now let me show you what happens when I put the mask on. When I put the mask on, the wattage starts to go down. And you can see that it settles down and eventually hovers around 50.
Alright, since the CPAP machine settles in at about 50 watts, over an hour it would take 50 watt hours. That means we're going to need about 400 watt hours to run it for 8 hours. This is the biggest Ryobi battery that I have, and being that it's a 6 amp hour battery and it's 18 volt, it should be 108 watt hours, and I checked it and sure enough it is. Which means we can run the CPAP for about 2 hours. That is, assuming that there's no efficiency losses by converting from DC to AC.
Alrighty guys, here's what we got. Fully charged 6 amp hour battery, and we'll see how well this works. I woke up after about a half hour and thought I would check the battery. After an hour and a half, we used about 3/4 of a battery, and that's what we would expect.
So, will this thing power a CPAP machine? Well, technically, yes. But I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to take it camping or anything like that, and here's why. Since the CPAP machine was consuming about 50 watts, that means that I would need about 400 watt hours of battery in order to make it through the night. That's the equivalent of 22.2 amp hours worth of 18 volt batteries. That would mean I would need to have 4 of these 6 amp hour batteries. I would have to have 6 of these 4 amp hour batteries. I would have to have 8 of these 3 amp hour batteries. And if all I had was these 2 amp hour batteries like I used to, I would have to have 11 of these to make it through an 8-hour night, and that's not powering your phone or anything else or using the light on the thing. All that is going to use up some of the electricity that's stored in these batteries, so that's just using the CPAP. And personally, I think it would be a pain to have to wake up several times a night to change a battery. Here's the thing, you'd have to set your alarm so you could change your battery every time before it runs out, because it gets hard to breathe if you're wearing the CPAP and the CPAP stops working. I'm not saying 100% for sure that a person would suffocate, but I wouldn't want to take any chances. There is a backup battery unit that's called the Lion Cub Go that the manufacturer claims will power a CPAP all night long. My DeWalt jump starter unit that I made a video on before powered my CPAP all night long, but the battery was flashing because it was almost completely out of juice in the morning. I hope you found this video useful and interesting. I hope that answers the question. Thank you so much for all your questions, and if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments. I'd love to talk to you down there. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. For those of you that don't know, a CPAP machine stands for... For those of you who don't know, a CPAP stands for continuous pressure. It says the CPAP machine settles in at about 50 watts. That means we're going to need about 800 watt hours to run it for 8 hours. No, 400. Then that means we're going to need about 400 watt hours to run it. Oh, checked it, and sure enough, it is. Come on in, George. So, will this thing run a CPAP machine? Well, technically, yes, but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't have. And if all I had was these 2 amp hour batteries, I would have to have 8 of the... No.